What's going on, guys? So this is Bo with Be Detailed coming back at you with another video. Here I am going ahead and I think I'm sanding with 800 grit here. This is just a little video that I encapsulated of myself burning through some paint. And it wasn't on purpose. The goal was to actually sand this flat. I was doing it for practice, just to try to get the panel as flat as I possibly could. Just working with seeing how an acrylic block would cut versus, using some of like the rid sticks that I'm traditionally used to sanding with the hard foam. And so I wanted to see how much more flat it would get. And I just had an interesting turn of events by the time I got to 1,000 grit. So I'm not sure if I'm at 600 grit here or if I'm at 800. We're gonna go ahead and speed it up just so we can get through the sanding a little faster. But yeah, we're starting off with a really coarse grit, really low grit, because we want a lot of bite. We want to go ahead and just gnaw right into that clear. Here I am showing you the first results of the spot that we're doing. So here we are, 800 grit, using that thin acrylic block like I was saying. And here just sanding right at it. One thing I'm gonna bring up, because it's gonna happen. You see how like my hand almost looks like I'm stopping the sanding to do something. I don't know what it was with this paint. I don't know if it was the block, the sandpaper, the paint. Maybe it was all of it. But as I was sanding with these, like with a thin block like that, it kept grabbing. Like I would get in my rhythm and I'd stop. It would look like I just like stopped sanding. Like it looks like in the video, like I just stopped sanding and I just lifted my hand up to go again. What actually is happening is the paint it takes the block out of my hand placement. So then I have to stop and readjust my hand placement, because it almost like it grabs it for a second and then it's like my hand like shifts. So I have to stop, and it just kept disrupting my rhythm a lot. And so that was kind of aggravating while sanding this panel. I think this might have been my first time using a thin acrylic block like that to try to sand out clear to like a mirror like finish. Now I want you guys to take note of this like appearance here of the way the sanding marks looked, and then what we just saw in the last time that I showed it. Not when I did the first cut, but the image where they were like, to the second time that I showed the sanding marks, you can almost see like the sanding marks crossing, and then you could see the sanding marks are from now all going one way. That was just me trying to essentially gauge that my paper was cutting and seeing the difference in refinement, because I didn't have guide coat, so a lot of this was kind of going off sound. Now I've swapped my block here to a more flexible block. However, this is still a hard block. I'm going with 1,000 grit, and this is actually when I'm gonna burn through. I'm just gonna go. We're gonna speed it up. Sand, and we're gonna see at the end of this how it looks. We're just gonna let him go. Let him rip at it. A little bit of a thicker block, but I still did have that problem of just like the block was grabbing. It wasn't as bad, but using a squeegee here, well, actually a block to squeegee the water off. So here we are, 1,000 grit. Color looks different. Overall, I'd say we're looking pretty consistent, I think. If you kind of look, you might see where it looks like we're about to bust through, but so far it looks pretty normal, right? It's all good, it's all fine. So I'm gonna just give it like a little check pass. I like to call it a check pass, where I'm just gonna go over it one more time just to make sure that we're fully refined out to 1,000 before I move on to 1,500 and 3,000. Well, let's see how that turns out for me here. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I'm swapping paper maybe. So here we are, 1,000 grit. Going ahead and sanding, doing the same old biz. Just going at it. See how it stops there? It just that panel was very grabby that day with the blocks I was using. Grabbed again. Sucks, man. just waiting, just building up to it. Jeez, man, really hammering here, huh? All right, here we go. So, what is this going to look like now? So I'm squeegeeing the water off. At this point, I've realized that I've burnt through the paint. And if you look, you see how it's a ring of paint? That, my friends, is a burn through. What I know happened is that there was a low spot, because when I buffed this out, I could actually sight down that panel again, and it was a tiny, tiny dent. And I kept sanding over that aggressively. So if you look in the middle, it basically, there was a low spot. So basically there was like a tiny dent, which led to that being a low spot in this area that I was sanding. So basically I just kept shaving off the high part of the clear in that area and just rip. And that's why that burn through looks the way it does, where the burn isn't actually like a spot. It's actually a ring. In the center, it's still sanding marks. At least I think. But essentially, that's the reason why it looks the way it does. And I had never seen a burn through like this. When I saw that, I was like, how the hell did I manage that? But I started thinking about, I wonder if there was a low spot there. Maybe I shaved off the high part. So I ended up sanding it to 15-3, and I realized, like, oh yeah, we fucking shredded the high part of that low spot without even realizing it was there. So the lesson here, guys, is if you're ever gonna sand any clear, eye it down. I mean, likely, you know, if you're staying with non-aggressive grits like 2,000, 3,000, maybe you're fine, but it's still like, you know, that quick and it can catch you, you know. Now, granted, we sanded quite a bit, and I probably over sanded, to be honest. You know, especially with using harder blocks, you definitely have to be careful about that, because your cut is going to be a lot more direct and a lot stronger. So there's doing too many strokes, not sighting down the panel, and looking at what's going on here, not looking at what's going on within the panel before I take a flat, hard block and just start cutting it down. So it's just something I wanted to share. You know, it's a funny little mistake because it's on a test panel. Who really cares? But it's also something to carry with you, hopefully, you know, if you're doing any sort of sanding and whatnot, you know, with detailing, like, you know, take this little tidbit, you know, learn, hopefully. You know, check for your high spots, and don't oversand. Make each pass count. Don't focus on the count of the passes. Just make the passes count. So I didn't come up with that. But anyways, yeah, that's all I wanted to show you guys tonight. I don't want to keep this video long. I just want to keep it relatively short. Show you a little bit of some mistake action going on here, and kind of what I've learned from it since doing that. So. Yeah, until then, peace out, and see you guys in the next video.